Every holiday.
All right, the call to order for the Parks and Recreation Board meeting here on September 11th, 2024, 5:30 p.m. Determination of a quorum.
We do have a quorum present with board member Norma Olivo absent.
Okay. Okay, now we are going to be open for public comments. There is no public. Public hearings. Okay. Good. All right, moving on to issue number 5, approval of minutes of previous board meetings. A, approval of August 14th, 2024 regular meeting minutes. If I can get a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
A secondary. Okay. You cast the vote. Favor. Okay, moving on to B, approval of June 12th, 2024 for the regular meeting minutes. Can I get a motion?
No, we approve.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, if we can vote. Favor. Unanimous. Okay, moving on to number 6, information or discussion items, update on the Pueblo Nuevo Park project.
Yes, we've added that to every agenda item, and I drove by it. Looks like all the work's happening. So I think Gio, if you're could fill us in, all that work needs to be finished by September.
Yes, Pueblo Nuevo Park, we are expecting to be done by the end of the month. That's the deadline. We have a federal deadline for that. So Public Works is constantly working on finishing up everything, and we are tentatively scheduled to open on October 1st for the Alpine Police Department's National Night Out, which all the community is invited. So I definitely urge y'all to come. It's a Tuesday night. We're going to be there. There'll be hot dogs, a bunch of law enforcement.
Okay.
Gio, if you could clarify what kind of hot dogs.
I think beef, but maybe pork. I'm vegetarian. So.
October 1st?
What's the time for that? I believe it's 5:30. You know.
That was everything I had.
Okay, that takes care of the Pueblo Nuevo project. Moving on to action items. Approve a recommendation to the City Council to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 74, Parks and Recreation, Article 1, in general, to the Alpine Code of Ordinances, amending and establishing rules and regulations for all city parks, providing for the establishment of a permitting process to be approved by City Council resolution, providing the establishment of up to a $500 penalty per occurrence for violations of the ordinance, and providing for the following findings of fact, enactment, repealer, penalty, savings, severability, proper notice, and meeting and effective date clauses.
We could just get a motion and a second to approve, then we could start the discussion.
Okay, can I get a motion? Can I get a second? Okay, I guess we'll take a vote on that.
So now that we'll open it up for discussion, so we can go ahead and talk about the item, and then at the end, if you want to vote for, you would vote for the motion to approve, and if you want to vote against it, you vote after the discussion. Do you want me to go ahead and start?
Yeah.
So on September 13th of last year, the Parks and Recreation Board voted to make a recommendation to the City Council to update Chapter 74, Parks and Recreation. The changes included establishment of streamlined rules, updated regulations for city parks. And on September 26th, the City Council considered the board's recommendation and voted to postpone the item to send the ordinance back to the Parks and Recreation. The Parks and Recreation Board did hold a discussion on January 10th of 2024 and discussed amendments to the ordinance. City administration did work on those proposed updates, and the amendments were given to board members at the last meeting on August 14th to review and provide feedback. Iris and Crystal, did provide some comments on the ordinance to us. Ms. Baca's comments are included in your packet to see all the comments that she had. Iris's aren't included, but she is here tonight to go over them. Basically, I am making a recommendation to strike a portion of the ordinance. It's highlighted and in strike through text in your packet. And the reason for that would be just because the subject matter of the strike through text, it does really implicate general zoning regulations of the city. So it would be better and more cohesive to remove that section and amend the zoning ordinance, because this particular section that I'm talking about it basically amends overarching parking regulations in residential areas. It defines commercial vehicles or recreational vehicles. And that would be more sufficient for the zoning. So I do recommend to strike that through. We did want to get your input before officially removing it. But if you do approve the recommendation tonight, as you made the motion earlier, essentially that portion that I have struck out in the ordinance will be removed. So I'd like to go ahead and open it up to discussion from the board members to see if you have any more comments. This is going to be your official recommendation, so we can get it to city council and have them vote on that recommendation, whether or not.
Crystal, Matt, did y'all want to go over any of y'all's recommendations?
My main one was just, I think it's like a matter of wording, and if it's gonna have to be back again, then it wouldn't really matter, but, it's the one that says the person may not ride a horse in a park in a dangerous manner, and I know like the one above says, like without a permit, but this sounds like you don't need a permit that you can just ride a horse as long as you don't ride it in a dangerous manner. And that was my only, like, the main comment, like, so if you have a permit, you can't ride it in a dangerous manner. It's gonna be 7414.
So Iris did, in her recommendation, it was to combine those. Do you think if we combined that portion F and made it part of B, do you think that would make more sense?
Yeah, just because by itself, it sounds like you don't need a permit.
Okay.
And I don't know, I think that was a little bit confusing, but yeah, combining it actually might be better.
What about G?
Well, I mean, I also think, that might be a little vague. We can strike that if you want. Just because all of those are the same subject matter, so it's up to you all. If y'all want to recommend that we strike that and then combine the other, we can do that, or we can just get rid of F and G. It's up to you.
I think we can combine either E or G. I mean E and G. Or just combine it all together and just shorten it. Straight to the point.
How about combining F and G and just wording it differently, such as when under permission or something like that, one will not ride a horse in this manner and will not hitch the horse or do anything with the horse that causes damage. I mean, I guess we really need them in there.
What do you think, Darren?
Every time I go to the park, I see people riding horses.
You never know.
I would actually say with what Louise said, person may not hitch a horse to a tree, shrub, or structure in a manner that causes damage, or ride a horse in a danger.
So you want to combine F and G?
I think that is separate because they're both kind of talking about what you do with the horse, and the other one is talking about the permit. So first off, they have to have a permit. Second off, they can't do those two things.
Okay, I think that sounds good. What do y'all think? Do you think, combining F and G would be,
Yes.
okay, we can do that. Do y'all have any other thoughts on any of the other rules? If you notice on the section that you all were given, I streamlined that section a bit under section 74-17. We had quite a lengthy bit of text of the House bill that implemented those regulations, and I just shortened it, make it more succinct. How about the, I remember during Councilor Stevens had a comment regarding the amount of people that can be in the park and the notification process. I believe it was over 30. I'm trying to look for that. So it's section 74-5, assembly. A person organizing an event in a park that the person reasonably should know will be attended by more than 30 people must provide notice at least 1 week before the event begins to the city by calling the city hall. Subject to compliance with all other applicable rules and ordinances, the event may be allowed upon approval of the city manager and chief of police. So I can tell you, I authored the first version of this ordinance, and my thinking behind that was that if there's going to be over 30 people, the police department needs to be aware to increase patrols in the area, and it should be approved by the city manager because absent a process for permitting, like for events, that's a large gathering.
Yeah.
So that was the thought process behind that. What do y'all?
So this applies to something that wasn't paid for, sort of deal, with that they didn't come in.
So like if somebody wanted to have a party in the park, you can't have more than 30 people without letting us know. We can advance and getting approval from the city manager. It provides some structure. I mean, like I said, I think it provides a mechanism for us to know if there's going to be a lot of people, which could equate to, even though alcohol, of course, not that, right? Could equate to things happening, at least this way we will have leadership in the city know that there is going to be something with a significant number of people there, and it will provide the police mechanism with, hey, go patrol that area.
Enforce the rules.
Is that what y'all think? Do you agree? Or do you think
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Could we put within the permit process on there that, so that when they're going through the process, they can see that and say, if you reasonably think that 30 or more people are gonna be involved, let us know so that we can, just so that they're aware, because they're never gonna read the ordinance before they actually have an event. So if they are gonna go through the permit process, that way they see that during the actual permitting process, what they need to be,
Okay, I think we can definitely make a note of that because 74-6 does say that the city council may implement permitting processes and procedures by resolution. So I think if we're just cognizant of adding that in the paperwork and making it part of the approval process, like maybe the approval process for an event would be city manager and chief of police approval, plus it would be listed on there. I think maybe we have a section for estimated amount of attendees and things of that nature. I think that would work.
just so that they know if that person reasonably should know it's gonna be a 10,130. That way they're going through the process and not calling it a number.
Okay.
On the horses, in the entire time you've been city secretary, has anyone ever gotten a permit for a horse in the park?
No, but I do see people randomly on horses, like at Sonic, walking down the Fifth Street. It could happen.
I've seen a few riding by the park, not into the park, but
Well-trained horse.
there are a couple people that do regularly ride through that area.
The one in Collin.
We're in Texas after all.
Gio, you said you summarized 7417?
Yes, so in the copy that y'all were given, there was a lengthy section. I changed that to camping and overnight use of city parks and parking areas is strictly prohibited in accordance with Texas Penal Code Section 48.05. So that essentially references all that bill text in one word.
Like,
Yes. I think there was a question on firearms at one point. Okay, a person may not carry or possess a weapon or firearm while in the park except A, where the use is expressly allowed, or B, as allowed by state and federal law, or as of 2021, Texas law no longer requires people to have a license to carry in order to carry a handgun in most public places. Handguns and other weapons are prohibited in places. So I'm not really too sure. I guess because I wasn't at the discussion in January when some of these actionable items were included. But do you think that's sufficient, or do you think there needs to be an update?
This is saying you can't have firearms at all, whether you're sitting in or not.
Yeah, it says that no one can carry or possess a weapon or firearm while in a park except where the use is expressly allowed, which, well, I'm not sure that there would ever be a use where it's expressly allowed. You know, and the second part says as allowed by state and federal law. I don't know, I would just worry that that part is contradicting itself when it says handguns and other weapons are prohibited. So, what do you think? Do you remember that discussion?
Do we know what state law would be? Because really, we could only be stricter than state law. Whatever state law is, the only reason we would ever need something like this in here is if we were to be more strict.
Yeah, well, if state law says that you can have a concealed handgun in the park, then it would preempt our ordinance. So we wouldn't really be able to prohibit it if it's expressly allowed by state law anyway. And I think that I'm just guessing by the conclusion of this because it's the first time I've seen it. But I'm thinking that that's probably why it's kind of added. That's what I would think a little bit. And the question in council, I remember last year when they discussed this was, okay, well, when is it expressly allowed? Right? I think I remember that. Well, I mean, personally, I don't know, I would recommend putting that it's expressly prohibited. Because if we're superseded by state law, well, it doesn't matter about ordinance. But I guess, you know, typically when passing an ordinance, it would be better if it's about law.
I mean, the only time I know, actually, I don't know Texas law, but like you can't carry a handgun into a bar. And outside of that, I'm thinking, I don't know really where else carry a handgun.
Even the list given here doesn't really mention city park on there.
The what?
The list right here where it says guns not allowed, it doesn't mention city parks.
And that's another thing. So it's because we did task this to one of the employees and they kind of tried gathering with parks for recommended in January. Again, I wasn't at that meeting, so I'm not too sure exactly what they'll discuss, but I think what she did was she took the text for the exceptions because she probably looked at the law and saw that these were the exceptions. For example, in a courthouse, you can't have it, right? Regardless, like, because the law basically in 2021 says in a public place, you can't prohibit someone from having a gun, right, with exceptions.
We've been discussing that. We don't have a courthouse at the park.
Exactly. I would say that it would really be applicable in this instance to be in this one, unless it was strictly about the park.
So maybe take that off.
I would say, yeah, striking that would be best.
Do we need this at all?
I would say no, I would, my recommendation would just be to say that they're prohibited. Again, we're preempted by state law, the police should know that. And if somebody can lawfully have a handgun per state law, then it would override our. So that would be my personal recommendation, because I just don't think the guns not allowed section really is applicable.
Is public land just public land? And can you carry a gun in public areas?
Well, I do remember when I was reading over that, bill, that it did say that we can't stop people from carrying in public property. It is public property.
I was thinking.
I mean, we might strike the section altogether.
Maybe even,
Well, B and C, those seem fine.
Okay, yeah.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because C basically contradicts our first part.
C.
Person may not display a firearm or other weapon in the park in a manner that the person should receive no will or offense. So it's saying that if you have one, it should be hidden.
No. You cannot, you can open carry, but then there's illegal to have it drawn. And that's what that would be referring to.
Right.
And that's actually the way that works as well, like you can legally open carry, but you cannot, once you unsheath it, then you are brandishing a weapon.
Right.
And whether or not you point it at somebody or not, doesn't matter.
So that contradicts us saying you cannot carry a possessive weapon or firearm.
Well, that A in itself just seems like it just contradicts state law. But C is fine because that in itself is just illegal to do. It is illegal to brandish a weapon in a manner that threatens.
What are we doing with, right after the list of guns not allowed, there's a little part where it says C.
See, and this was why I remember them saying, well, when would it be authorized? I remember that being a question as well. City council, and it's one of the reasons they sent this back. So that's why I wanted to kind of remember what items caused them to send it back, and this is one of them. So I definitely think we have a little bit of work to, kind of amend this section before making your final recommendation. I would say remove the guns not allowed, definitely. I'm looking, trying to find, the law and what it says.
And I do like B just because even bow and arrow, I don't know bow and arrow ball, but I wouldn't want somebody just going to the park and then just practicing bow and arrow willy-nilly. You want it to be controlled by them. Would probably have to fall under the open carry or anything like that.
So, I do have a snippet here. It says during the 2021 regular legislative session, the Texas Legislature passed AB 1927, also known as the Firearm Carry Act of 2021. It has commonly been referred to as constitutional carry. The bill allows most individuals aged 21 and over to carry a handgun in public, in either a concealed manner or openly in a holster, without having to first obtain a license. So there are some limitations. Okay, so the Attorney General has the authority to investigate complaints against cities for wrongfully excluding license holders and to seek civil penalties against cities for those violations. Texas Government Code 411.209 states that a city is prohibited from taking any action that implies a license holder who is carrying a handgun is prohibited from entering or remaining on the premises of a place owned or leased by a city unless the license holder is prohibited from entering that place under Texas law. So, I mean, to me, I think really, I don't really think so.
I mean, B also states the use of.
Well, either way, I think we could leave B because I still think, you know, it would not be, I mean, I would assume that you could prohibit somebody from firing in a park, but you can't have it from having.
B and C.
Plus B kind of helps cover, every time paintball element. Stuff like that.
So. Here, very. C.
So you do want to keep B and C?
B and C seem fine to me. I guess A is just a really lengthy way of saying you can't, not, but you can, as long as you're not breaking the law.
Well, how about a
Which are-
person may not carry or possess a weapon or firearm except as explicitly allowed by state and federal?
That would be fine.
Right, and then we can strike C because, well, if it's expressly allowed, then they wouldn't need you. Approval. So,
Oh, because I'm looking at the other C. There's
Oh.
two Cs. Oh, no, that's C, part of A.
We're getting rid of that.
I think keeping B in 74-9, peace and quiet would make sense. And then again, just making the one uniform, you know, getting rid of B and C, how it's written in here, in everything under B. Just putting that one statement, a person may not carry or possess a weapon or firearm while in a park except as explicitly allowed by state and federal law.
Yeah.
That sound okay?
That sounds good.
Great. You remember anything else the council had questions on there, man? That was the main one, but.
Yeah, it's the number of people, that permitting process, weapons. We spoke a little bit earlier about percent of alcohol, like pollution on alcohol, but that's been made more explicit by allowing non-alcoholic beverages. Is this having any of the swimming stuff in it, or is that in a separate part of the?
That is a separate part. So it's in the same chapter as the next division. So let me ask y'all this. The hours of operation, you know, city parks will be open for the public's use and enjoyment only from dawn until dusk daily and closed to the public when it is dark outside. Y'all think that's sufficient?
That helps with, you know, having
Keeping-
some post hours when the season changes.
True. The only thing is I'd like to. Who wants to go here for a run? Anyway, but yeah, it does feel like. I just wanted your thoughts.
And historically, we did set hours, I think, but then we discussed removing them. That changes throughout the season. Because I'm the same thing, I'll go run maybe at like 6 a.m. in the morning, which is definitely before sun rises, but it'll be on that path around there. I guess, is that illegal?
Well, technically, yes, if it's before dawn and after dusk. And that's why I had a question, because I like walking on that path, the coconut, I like almost dark, so.
That one's creepy in the dark though.
It is.
There are those who come at you.
I know, right? The good thing is that we did have in here, no one except with specific city authorizations shall be permitted to be on the premises of a city park during the hours that such park is closed without prior authorization from the city. So that would kind of leave some room for the city manager to authorize, like, what are those called? Stargazing events and things of that nature. I think that kind of leaves it open.
Which part was that, Keo?
So it's 74-3 hours of operation for city parks. In the ordinance, it's on page 5, 4 and 5.
Without proper authorization?
Yeah.
And then are we really setting the rules to provide the flexibility for law enforcement to make a decision? I'm sure law enforcement isn't gonna come in, 6 AM and say like, look, the park's closed, there's a $200 ticket.
How's there?
But they have the ability, if there was something egregious happening, to say, yeah, the park's closed, and so, I mean, if you were out there doing something you shouldn't be doing, that provides the legal aspect for them to actually hold them accountable for that. But the law enforcement still has the flexibility within that, to say, they weren't doing anything bad.
Yeah, well, I knew that, I know that they definitely patrol, and if they see like a car, they'll stop. So I think it does leave them the flexibility. I'm prohibited at night right now.
I think this works, it gives them the option, it gives them an opportunity to go talk to them. Well, the rule is not supposed to be yours, so I need to see where.
Yeah. So I think it actually does have an effect if they see a car.
Just like if you see someone texting and driving, then you get pulled over and,
All right, did y'all have any other questions, or did you see any other areas that should be amended?
in the parking part, which parts are we removing?
So the parking, it's gonna be in the first ordinance. It's gonna be highlighted in strike-through text in red text.
All G and zoning?
Yes. So basically, the parking would be, unless parking is otherwise prohibited, the person may park a motor vehicle in a park only in a designated area. A person may not park, store, or leave a vehicle or trailer in an area posted restricted or with no parking sign. The city may impound a parked vehicle or trailer that creates a hazardous or unsafe condition. And that's interesting you bring this up because I recently got a phone call. You might have been here, it might have been a prior person, but the person asked if they could park their RV on the side of the park. And I'd almost be tempted to update it to a person may not park, store, or leave a vehicle or trailer overnight.
Is that covered in 7417, camping and overnight use?
Maybe, let's see, 17?
Yep, 7417.
Oh, right.
They could go park there and then not camp there. Go park there and then drive over to the hotel.
So that one was going to be the provision that occurred because City of Austin allowed the homeless people to sleep in public places, which caused a lot of, they were sleeping everywhere in the bridges, and it was interesting to see the oversaw it. Anyway, so they passed a law prohibiting camping in public places. So that's what that provision is. So no, I don't believe that will come.
And the next question would be, what is within that section? Is it already within another parking ordinance or would it need to be added?
That is a great question. Let's see. I believe that it might be in the parking. The traffic and vehicles. Under traffic and vehicles, we have Article 4, stopping, standing, and parking. And I was just looking over this recently. So there's a presumption that owner of vehicle illegally parked such vehicle. In any prosecution charging a violation of any ordinance or regulation governing the standing or parking of a vehicle, proof that the vehicle described in the complaint was parked in violation of such ordinance or regulation, together with the proof that the defendant named in the complaint was at the time of such parking, the registered owner shall constitute evidence prima facie presumption that the vehicles parked. And it does say impoundment of standing or parked vehicles. It says that we are responsible for impounding it if any vehicle which shall be or remain standing or parked upon any public street, avenue, way, alley, or other public place may be removed by or upon chief of police and placed in storage in privately operated garage or other place designated or maintained by the city under the following circumstances. When any vehicle is found upon a street, avenue, alleyway, or public place, and a report has been previously made that such vehicle has been stolen, or a complaint has been filed and a warrant issued charging that the vehicle has been stolen. When any police officer of the city has reasonable grounds to believe that the vehicle has been abandoned. When it's considered an obstruction to traffic. When a vehicle is illegally parked to block the entrance to any private driveway and it's impracticable to move such vehicle from in front of the driveway.
Who would any amendments to the parking ordinance go through?
Police.
Through the police?
Yeah.
They would make those amendments?
I would say the chief of police would definitely be involved.
When my mind's out on that one, it might be just that they could take this, because nothing was spoken about in what you just said about recreational vehicles, which is what this whole thing seems to be mostly about. Maybe the chief could just take this, summarize it, throw that within the parking ordinance, and then in here, G could just be, all parking needs to abide by the parking ordinance located at blah, 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 article 4. Oh, sorry, just to reference that section.
Okay. No, and I'm not too sure, because usually when I got that call, for example, I said, contact the police department and see. So, I mean, I don't know. Do you think adding a provision that it's prohibited in city parks? Or do you think letting it just be governed by whatever other parking?
Oh, yeah, so you guys before that.
I would assume that that ordinance that the police handle is probably a lot stronger. They're probably a lot more knowledgeable that issue, how to deal with it. And it seems like to me, I mean, for the park, people can park there in the parking areas, and you just can't park in the restricted or no parking sign areas. I'd assume anything past that will probably start falling under parking one.
Okay, so you think it's fine as is,
I would say probably.
or do you want to make a reference to parking ordinance?
So we're talking about D.
I'm talking about 74-12. In general, we have A, B, and C with D struck out, but we can amend D to say parking,
That seems like a probably pretty simple, if we change D to just more reference up to this, like you were saying, that would probably be.
Yeah.
And I think of.
so make a reference to the parking.
Yes.
Do you see anything, I mean, because there could be explicit statements on how parking, we thought this much about parking in a park, about how you park in a park compared to how you park in a street. There would be a section within the parking ordinance stating specifically towards parks. I mean, that would basically reference if Chief Osorio is having an issue with RVs parking in the park, that could come out of the parking ordinance. And like you said, then most of it would come through, if there was an issue with that, it would be directed towards the police, who would be updating the ordinance. It wouldn't come really through us. We would police that.
So my only concern is that, you know, as I read earlier, it's talking about when the city can impound standing or parked vehicles. I'm not actually really seeing anything that explicitly says that they can't park on the side of the road. I may be wrong though.
Should we get Chief Osorio to look at some of this?
We could, if y'all want to go ahead and.
I think at that point, it would just be referencing back to the park.
This, I'll just get real quick, this is pretty much the only, is this the only ordinance that Parks really has? Is this the majority of it, all this?
It is the majority. There are a couple of more sections. So this is Article 1 in general. Article 2 is reserved. So the codifier left subsections in case we wanted to make an Article 2 for whatever reason they thought we. Article 3 is the municipal swimming pool, which is definitely out of date. Article 4 is standard of care for Parks and Recreation Department recreation.
So
Which
this
I'm
is,
sure probably.
this is the majority.
It is the vast majority that deals with parks in general. And 3 is about the swimming pool, and 4 is just about how we take care of the Parks and Recreation program, which was implemented in 2001. So that should be revisited.
I say my personal opinion, how y'all think, but is don't feel rushed to push this through the door. You think about it and just gonna like the way you guys think. So you only get to meet once a month, have conversations the way that you guys really want to push it into. Don't feel like don't put an incomplete product out there. Which could be multiple iterations of this meeting and then saying, yeah, I like the way that that's looking now, whether it's parking or guns, very good conversation with guns.
Yeah.
But so.
Yeah, before you were done, focusing, about people parking, I guess kind of any which way they wanted to. I think the key word in A would be designated area. If that really became an issue, it wouldn't be about adding anything, but simply painting white lines. Because then that is the simplest way to define those areas.
Designated area.
Yeah.
And so again, my only thing was that we actually have us calls. Oh, can I park overnight? You know what I'm saying? Like my trailer, I'm gonna be there for X number of days. I want to say that you police told me. But regardless, if you want to go ahead and just table it, I can go ahead and amend the ordinance with the amendments that we discussed that you all like. And then I can get with the chief on the parking and see what kind of issues he's had, whether or not we need an explicit reference to just say it's not allowed, because if his recommendation, I recommend that. Or if it's maybe going to be a better option to amend the actual parking ordinance. I think in this case, if we wanted to, we could prohibit it because it's directly correlated to parking in city parks. I think it could. But I think it'd be based on a conversation. So if you want to go ahead and do that.
That probably might be best to do. Because I would be leaning towards just no.
Not allowing.
Just not allowing overnight parking. I'd imagine one of the risks you run into, especially with RVs, is parking overnight. They leave early in the morning and they've already dumped their street. Like that. And that's not as, you know, somebody dumping trash, that's easy to clean up. Sewage on the other hand, especially Ross, that's and then I'd imagine start getting group of RVs. There's an RV park.
Or like just, you know, abandoning vehicles.
Like that.
Okay, well, I can go ahead and do that. If somebody can make a motion to approve the amendments discussed, and then second that motion, we can vote on that. And then we can just, I'll type it up for y'all to have.
Okay.
Okay. One more quick question just before we do that. Crystal, you had signs and notices. I see you have a.
Oh, yeah, I neglected to see substantial, I was like, we're gonna put all of that in the sign, but it just not, alcohol, whatever. It's what substantially the sign will say, but I didn't read it all the way the first time.
You're happy?
Yes, I'm happy with that.
That was the one last thing that I saw within hers. And then Iris, are you happy with the amendment? And then the last thing I was gonna say is if we do go through all this, I mean, we are, the things that you guys, I would say, anything that you guys do want to say and put within this, because what y'all say currently, since we only meet once a month and have those kind of things, anything you want discussed at the next meeting, go ahead and mention those so that they're gonna get put within the additions or the amendments to the next one. And that way y'all can have that debate next time, on whether it's weapons. This time we talked about weapons and parking. Maybe next time we get Chief Lasoya here for parking to say, what's the best method of this? And then over the next 3-4 meetings, you guys really dial this in a way that you guys feel comfortable with. That y'all are really happy. Once y'all get it put into a way you really like it, you know, it won't need to be in it. Y'all already built a lot of flexibility into it. Or move the, you know, parts over to the chief or whatever.
And further to my last comment, it would actually be a motion to table. And then we'll just have it brought up. I think that would be more.
So then can I get a motion to table?
Make that motion to table. Google. Or just the parking.
So this will just be for table when you pull this.
That's good.
Can I get a second?
I'll say.
All right.
Okay, and then I'll have that for y'all for next time, and I'll get with the chief and see what he recommends. I'll update the ordinance based on his recommendation, and then we'll have.
Yeah. And I think with having him here too, you'll probably have a better idea as well with gun issues as well.
True. Yeah, I can follow up with him on that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would.
Sounds good.
Okay. Moving on to number 8 for board member comments. Anybody have any comments about this meeting?
I think, yes. Just 3 things real quick. I spoke to Gio and Justin. When we put things on an agenda, we've got a captive audience up here right now, right? So you guys have already spoke. You're kind of seeing what needs to, it does not need to occur within some of the upcoming meetings. It's harder to kind of just shoot through an email to you guys and say, like, what do you want on the next upcoming agenda? So Gio was going to look into it. We'll check and see if it's possible to do it about its homer or anything. Takes up the meetings act about having a short section in here that says, what do you guys want at the next meeting? So that way we're not shooting anybody and say, hey, you have 2 days. What do y'all want on the next agenda? Right now, while y'all are here, you can go ahead and say, these are some of the things that I would like on the next agenda. And not when you can't maybe discuss them, because that would be discussing something that is on the agenda. So you can't discuss something that is not on the agenda. But you could let's say, this is something I want on the next agenda, Gio. And then that way we are adding items in here, action items which all want to work through. And just to say that a couple of the other ones that I'll ultimately end up putting with no discussion on there is officers to verify who we have as officers and everything else. Chairperson, I think we're missing them. We have a chair, we have a vice chair and a secretary. I think Luis might be just
I thought I got moved to vice
I
chair.
think we can just go ahead and put it on the agenda, and then we could just solidify all of those appointments, make sure we're all good. That's
because then next year or next time, next year, we'll switch vice chair again.
next fiscal year is starting. So
That's
perfect
true.
time.
So
So I actually spoke with Megan on adding that item, and I came up with the idea that I think might cover us. I was thinking of doing some basic language, like discuss parks and recreation endeavors, strategies, goals, items added to next agenda, like, and have like, kind of try to open it up as much as possible on the agenda language, so they can really get the substance of what might be discussed. So that way it can open up discussion a little more. Just being very specific and thorough with it without some leeway.
because you guys need to feel like y'all are getting value out of these meetings, so we get y'all to show up. And that way, when y'all are here, you say, hey, the Frisbee golf course, we don't have that, so or like a tree's not getting watered or anything else, something that's immediately on y'all's mind, y'all have the ability to do that. That's everything.
All right, any more comments? Nope. Move to adjourn, can I get a motion? Need a second? All right.